Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anyen and this is Fun Farm. So I thought that I would get on here and talk to you guys about why I decided to do a dual degree. So for those of you that don't know, I graduated with my pharmacy degree. So I graduated with a doctorate in pharmacy as well as a master's in regulatory science. Now, when I was a pharmacy student, even prior to me becoming a pharmacy student, I did research at the National Institutes of Health. So I knew that I always wanted to pursue or work in research. Now, I was looking at different avenues of doing that. And so prior to me going to pharmacy school, I weighed the options of me going to pharmacy versus me going to medical school. And of course, this decision came about from me speaking with people that are in both fields and deciding what was best for me based on what I wanted to do in the long run. However, I did know that research is where I wanted to end up. There aren't a lot of pharmacists in research at the time I thought, but the more, especially in my field now, I'm starting to see just how pharmacists are really everywhere and especially submerged as well in research. And so I didn't exactly know how to enter research through pharmacy. There weren't a lot of opportunities that I could see, and I didn't know a lot of pharmacists that were doing research, but I did know that I somehow wanted to end up in pharma, which is, the pharmaceutical industry as a whole, pharmaceutical companies. And so throughout pharmacy school, I also pursued experiences that would help me build that aspect of my career, my professional life. So I did internships during pharmacy school at the National Institutes of Health. I also worked at the hospital close to my school where I was helping also to conduct research. So essentially I was working in a hospital that was doing research on their patients. And so that was one way that I built myself in that area. Another thing that I did was to pursue a master's in regulatory science. Now, at the time, I wasn't really sure what area of the pharmaceutical industry I wanted to go into. So I thought that doing this master's would help me to define that path. My school didn't offer a lot of dual degree programs, but I thought that me doing a dual degree was one thing that was going to set me apart from other candidates when applying to fellowships, which essentially is how you get to work for big pharma. So when you're graduating, there are three routes, right? You can either get a job or you can do a residency program, which is either 1 or 2 years post your pharmacy graduation that will then land you in the hospital somehow. It can lead you to working in the hospital, or you can do a fellowship, which can also be 1 or 2 years that can then land you to working with a pharmaceutical company. So my school didn't really offer a lot of master's degrees, but the one that I felt would help me do essentially what I was trying to do was regulatory affairs, which is a big field in industry. A lot of pharmacists go into regulatory affairs. So I decided to pursue a master's in regulatory, especially because regulatory deals with the FDA. And what do drugs deal with? The FDA, right? Our Food and Drug Administration is the one that is responsible for approving medications. If you are working with a pharmaceutical company that has a drug, that drug has to then be studied, has to undergo a clinical trial. And our regulatory body for clinical trials in the United States is the FDA. Therefore, I've pursued a master's in regulatory science, hoping that, I would sort of gain that exposure. I would learn about what the FDA does, and it would help guide my career towards the pharmaceutical industry. It did all of those things, but I did not pursue a regulatory affairs opportunity for several reasons. I can explain why in another video, but this video was mainly to share that a regulatory science master's did help to lay the foundation for me. So I'm currently working in clinical development, which is different from regulatory affairs in that we oversee essentially the entire clinical trial. There's early phase, there's late phase, which will determine whether you work with like phase 1 and 2 studies versus phase 3. But essentially you're not dealing with the FDA, which is what regulatory affairs would be doing. So there's different aspects to what I do, of course, but for someone who didn't have a lot of exposure as far as industry is concerned. While I was a student, I did not, do a lot of, in fact, I didn't do any industry fellowships. The only exposure that I had to industry was through my rotations, and it was through one of my rotations. But I do think that a lot of my skills in research, as well as the opportunities that I did working, were able to translate, but most especially my master's in regulatory science set a great foundation for me to be able to go into clinical development. So I'm currently doing a 2-year fellowship in clinical development and early clinical development. And I do think it played a major role in me getting this fellowship and being able to communicate what I wanted to do and where I wanted to work. But another thing the master's did for me was showing me that I didn't want to do regulatory affairs, because I did also see a lot of what that would look like as a career through the master's program. So if you're looking for another way to sort of branch out, one way to get skills that you may otherwise not have gotten, or if you haven't had the opportunity to do a lot of internships or rotations in the specific area that you're looking into, doing a master's is a great way to do it. An additional benefit to doing the master's was that my tuition was not double, in a sense. Like, I didn't really pay for my master's. Only time that I paid was during summer classes. So any class that I took for my master's that was also in conjunction with my pharmacy coursework, I didn't have to pay for. But if it was an extra class, like during the winter or summer courses, I did have to pay for, and that's how my school is set up. So check your school. Maybe your school is a little bit different. Another benefit is that I got to graduate at the exact same time. So I graduated with both my pharmacy and master's degree at the same time. While it was an extra load of coursework, it took discipline and the grace of God to be able to complete both on time and pass both. But one additional perk is that a lot of my pharmacy school electives were transferred to my master's electives. Let me reword that. A lot of my master's courses counted as pharmacy school electives. So in many cases, I wasn't doing double work. And so some of those master's courses were able to cancel some of my pharmacy school requirements, if that makes sense. All in all, that's a quick video about why I decided to pursue a master's degree, primarily for the added knowledge and to help hone into the career that I wanted, as well as to help me leverage my skills and set me apart from my peers when applying for fellowships. And it helped me also to decide what I wanted to do and what career I wanted to have in the pharmaceutical industry. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment down below if there's something that you want me to discuss on this channel. Thank you. See you guys next time at Pharm. Bye.